Hey guys, Kev here, and I want to talk about the CWF CWF Arcadian. Sorry, I'm so used to saying micro Arcadian. This is a flashlight I have been searching for, and not necessarily this version wasn't what I was after, but I really like it, and I love the model. I would love to find a machine titanium version of this, or tumbled, I don't know, just a different one maybe. Zerk would be sick. I did find another one in aluminum. It was just absolutely shred. I mean, it was like a machine polished aluminum, and it was scratched literally everywhere. The front area where the glass hits was all like jagged. It was the dirtiest flashlight I think I've ever received. It took me 20 minutes of just cleaning and scrubbing with alcohol and whatnot to get it clean. I did get it secondary. It was like $250. And the main reason I bought that one is because it has this clip on it. This is a Tie 2 design clip, and they're very sought after. And it was on that flashlight. So I was like, shit, I'll just pay the $250. At the very least, I got this clip and I got a dragon driver out of it. And then I got an awesome Arcadian, host, which I just sent off to Charles over at CWF. I'm going to pay to have it refinished, fix the pill, because there's one little issue where the MCPCB the glue was coming off, or the, whatever it's called, thermal paste. And just have him kind of do a once over on it. I cleaned it completely. I filmed it, but then I deleted it because it was just me cleaning shit, and I don't know, it wasn't worth it. I swapped the button and the cover, and so I did all the nasty shit, and then hopefully he can just refinish it, maybe clean up some stuff. We'll see how that goes. But then I can get that back and either keep it or maybe sell it, get some of my money back, and I'll come out fine. But I really wanted this clip for this flashlight, and I got it. So I'm super stoked on it. It doesn't necessarily match perfectly, but hey, whatever. This particular flashlight is stonewashed titanium, and it has a dragon driver, of course, the V3 dragon driver from Charles. This is an amber secondary. I have a orange glow gasket in there to kind of match. I have is that a scratch on there? What is that? Looks like it's underneath. I have a narrow optic in there. So, I mean, it's pretty much set up the way Charles would send it stock. He likes those narrow optics as well. I just added the glow gasket. I have a Keep Power 18350 battery in here. I use a bunch of different batteries, vape cell and Keep Power 18350s with high discharge rates. That's the important thing. And so that's what I have in there. It has a McClicky switch. This has a Okluma rubber boot cover. And then obviously the O-ring seals it in there. Tie 2 titanium pocket clip. And I mean, that's pretty much the breakdown on the components. I cleaned the threads and I put some lube on there. And it feels great. Here's that amber secondary. You have the 3 lights, obviously. And then this one has Samsung 351D emitter. I think it's at 5K. And I gotta say, I think it's stock. At least Charles seemed to think so. Even though the COA said it was 219C 4K. Charles looked at it and said, no, that's definitely the Samsung emitters. But either way, whatever he chose for these emitters, they are amazing. I mean, they have none of that green tint that I had on the other one that had this same emitter setup. And it gets bright as shit. It's an absolute hot rod. This thing is a beast. And you'll see that in the test footage. I freaking love this flashlight. The ergonomics are phenomenal on it. That's, you know, aesthetics and ergonomics are my biggest things. Well, I guess, you know, performance too, with what the LEDs are and that stuff. So I have multiple things. That was a dumb statement. Sorry. I love the ergonomics and aesthetics on the Arcadian line. This is where it all stems from. So when you see the little micro click, that's the micro Arcadian. That is from this design, and then it's shrunk. Well, actually, it's thinned down. It's probably about the same size. And then it's thinned out. And then the Peanut, which I have here. And I'll get a couple of, and see, then I end up grabbing like everything. And you guys don't want to see comparisons to everything, do you? Let's see. Okay. I meant to grab this one. Alright, I'll grab everything. Apparently. Not everything, but most. Alright. So first, the Peanuts. I have all three. I have all three titanium versions of the Peanut. I think there's only three. I hope so. So I have a tumbled titanium. I have a stonewashed, which matches this, obviously. And then I have a machine satin titanium Peanut, which is probably my favorite. I love that finish. It's just, you know, you're going to destroy a machine satin, but I would love to have a machine satin version of this. That's really my goal. With this clip, oh my God. But anyway, size-wise, you can see there's a substantial difference between the Peanut and the Arcadian. But based on the same design, right? So here we'll go from bezel to bezel. And you can see this whole back portion is extra there on the Arcadian. And then if we go from back there, line them up there, you'll see you have a good ½ inch or whatever here. Now, the way he was able to develop the Peanut, I will set aside these other two and just keep this one out. The way he was able to develop this model and basically just shrink this down, because believe it or not, I just forget how tight these get. It's crazy. Believe it or not, they take the same battery. So they both take an 18350 high discharge, right, battery. So I can take this one and drop it in here, and I can take this one and drop it in here, right, and it'll work. So just find the threading. There we go. I mean, I don't need to do this, but there you go. Works, obviously. Okay. Now, the way he was able to do this is he put everything on one board. So when you look at a driver, which I might actually have, yes, okay. Just to give you an example, let me grab the DC1 here. So this is the driver engine, I should say, that I took out of my Okluma, okay? And the way this is set up is, now this is a Lux RC driver, but just pretend it's the same driver. It doesn't matter in this scenario. Actually, it does, because, God, it does matter, because this is all on one board too. That's kind of the beauty of this whole thing. So hang on. It does matter, Kip. So here's another one, okay? I had these all taped up because it's definitely easier for storage. So imagine right here, this is the optic, but the way this works is you have the driver. This whole thing down here is the driver, okay? And then there's leads that come off of that, right? And they travel through this copper thing called the pill. That can be made out of different materials, but usually it's copper. So it goes up through the pill, and then you'll see those leads are soldered on here, and then you have your LEDs, right? And in Charles's case, in the Arcadian, then you have secondary LEDs too. This is actually the Dr. Jones driver. You know, Charles uses the Dragon driver, his own. But anyway, that's how that works. On the Peanut and the Lux RC driver here, it's all on one board. So the driver and the LEDs and everything is on this board. There's no driver down here that then goes through and then whatever. It's all here. That's why it's very tight, right? There's a lot going on here. It's probably one of the reasons the Lux RC driver has just one secondary light versus having three like the Dragon driver does. And then it just has a little, what do you call this thing? A little nub or whatever. And that's what the battery pushes against, obviously. So in this case, on the Peanut, look how much smaller the head of this flashlight is. Okay, that's achievable, not because there's less threads or whatever. There might be a few less threads, but if you put these like this, the driver and everything on the Arcadian comes up to about here on this, okay? Right here. On the Peanut, it comes to about here. So you're talking a difference of about ½ an inch that he's cutting out of the whole process, right? And then obviously he wanted to make sure that it's, you know, still worked with the 18350, so he had to make it long enough that the spring from the switch sits to here, and then the battery has to reach it. I mean, he could have made this smaller if there was if he wanted to go with a shorter battery or something, I guess. That's a dumb statement because that's just kind of, you could do that in any case. But so that's why the Peanut is basically has the same output, all of that stuff, but it's like an inch shorter or whatever. Now this, because of that, because he has everything on one board, he had to, he just had to do it a little differently. So this has the secondary lights are in random places, like one there, and one there. So it doesn't have the cleanest secondary beam, right? Where those secondary lights are spread in a triangle. It's still not like a perfect beam like the LEDs because they're wider apart, but you have, you know, basically a triangle here. And so it's a little bit more of a uniform beam there. He also did something cool with this one where you can change that secondary color to blue or red, where that one is always one color, which in this case is amber. So anyway, that's just a quick kind of rundown of the difference between the Peanut and the Arcadian. And I did actually try to swap them. I'll show you. Let me just wrap these back up real quick. I'm not really trying to protect the material as much because it's going in a bag, as much as I am trying to, well, in this case I am. I don't want these. There's like an optical thing and everything going on here. I'm just trying to keep it all together so that it doesn't get, I don't want that top MCPCB getting damaged or anything. Because I don't know if I'll ever want to use these or what. I might try to sell or trade this one because I don't know, I'm not a big fan of that old Lux RC driver. This one I'm definitely keeping, so. All right, I'll show you real quick swapping them because it's kind of funny. I posted it in the CWF group because I thought it was kind of funny. So if you take the head on the Peanut and you put it on the Arcadian body, they actually make different sizes. Because, like, look, this body is actually a little bit taller over here. So the head and the body are taller on the Arcadian. So if you put the Peanut head on the Arcadian body, you get the R-nut, and it works. It works just fine. You get the R-nut. So I'm using the Peanut, obviously, but just on the Arcadian body. And I don't think it looks half bad, honestly. It's sort of an interesting look. The difference in the Peanut body is that, and I like that he did it, is it's shorter in the cigar grip area, in that taper at the tail. See how it doesn't have this long portion right here, which I think looks better with this head. Now, if you try to make a Picadian, it doesn't work. Oh, it is working. Look at that. So I guess I did get it tight enough this time. So now it's working. Now, you see how it kind of like shimmers and stuff? It's just not getting a perfect connection or whatever. I don't know why, but I could get it to work if I wanted to. Work hard enough at it. But yeah, you can actually swap those. I just thought that was kind of funny. Size-wise, you can see, still a little shorter. But when we put it back together, you'll see. But yeah, you can see down here, the way the Peanut works is it just has this little button that comes through. And that comes through from the front board, just drops through that really thin copper pill, and that hits the battery instead of having a driver connected to everything down here. So here you can see when we put this together, it's longer all around. It's longer, and I think it does flow a little better with that longer piece here and the longer head. I like how that looks, and now you'll see we're not going to have any issues with the weird lights or anything. And then this one, the threads and everything on a CWF are fantastic. You can get it nice and tight. There's the Peanut. And again, sizes. Okay, so you've seen the Peanut comparison. Sorry. We can compare it to the Deadwood Customs Huckleberry, which is another very similar flashlight. I would argue it's a extremely similar design, but still different. I mean, you can see the body in the rear here is different. It's not as spread out as this is. It seems to have, obviously this portion is longer and thinner, and then the head is shorter, right? And I like that in some ways. Ergonomically, it does feel pretty good that way. But this does feel phenomenal in the hand. The cigar grip on a CWF just feels so good for some reason. The balance is extremely well done by Charles. But here we go, side by side. They are identical in height. And again, basically the same in width and everything. It's just a little bit different in these areas here. Then we could compare it to the DC-1 from Oklahoma. And height-wise, we are, again, identical. Thickness, again, pretty much the same. And then in this case, we have, again, a shorter head, thinner in here. And then this area is close. This area is close, where this one, you can see it's a little thinner up here. It tapers up there. So all three designs are different. even though they're extremely similar, they are different, and I appreciate all of them. Here's the Overready Boss, which is was, I guess, the shortest 18350 before the Peanut Custom, I should say. Fabulous flashlight, but not very much of a comparison. The Hanko Trident. This is my camo tie Tesseract twist. One of my favorite flashlights in the world. I absolutely love this, which is now sporting a Dragon Driver. Hell yeah. You can see it is shorter. So the Hanko is shorter by just a smidge, and I like that. Has a thinner boot, which I also kind of like. I wouldn't say I prefer it, but I like it. I like that it's, well, we'll talk about that a little later. But here again, design-wise, completely different. Hanko has a very distinct sort of style going on, but they are flashlights for sure. Here's the Citadel from Reaver Arms, another one of my favorites. This one's going to be shorter. This is a 16-340 size light. So you see that? A little bit shorter. About the same width. Thins out. Has a good cigar grip, but just different. Just different. I love this flashlight. This is a great flashlight. And then the last one here, I think, is a good one. This is the Tie 2 and CWF Pele. So Charles had some hand in this. Mostly all machined by Tie 2, Mike Bond. But Charles did the electronics and stuff like that. I think it maybe is how he got his start with flashlights, but I'm not positive. Like his own production stuff. He was a modder before, I think. So the Pele is a little bit taller. I guess it's hard for you guys to see that, but it is taller. There you go. And then this one comes with this clip, Tie 2 clip. And now they both have it, obviously. Very similar again, completely different design on this. This one is a 3-piece design where you can unscrew this back part, unscrew the head, obviously, and then this is just a 2 with threading on each side. It's interesting. But yeah, there's a comparison to that. So there you go. Those are comparisons. Something I want to talk about. The Hanko and the CWF, I believe, are 2 flashlights. I don't know if anybody else does this. Overready does it in an interesting way. We can talk about that. But CWF, on all his flashlights, including the micro click, I believe, the way he mounts, the way he has the glass connect to the bezel is phenomenal. And Hanko also does this the same way. And it's one of the things that separates these makers, I think, from the slew of other makers that are phenomenal in their own ways. Like the machining on the Citadel is amazing. Same here, right? But they do separate themselves a little bit with this. There's no O-ring showing. So you see how when you look around this area here, there's no black O-ring showing. It just literally looks like the glass is pressing up against the titanium. And it gives it such a clean look. And it really actually helps when you're assembling the flashlight because you don't usually have to worry about the glass falling out. So when you take one of these apart, when you take the pill out, you're going to unscrew the head, right? And then you're going to unscrew this pill, and it's going to come out. And then the optic and everything in there is going to come out with it. And the glass is going to fall out as well, right? And if it doesn't fall out right away, it'll probably fall out while you're fiddling around, and then you'll have to, when you put it together, which you've probably seen me do, you'll have to stack the pill, the optic, and then put the glass on top of that, and then start screwing everything in. Make sure the glass is lining up. Make sure that O-ring is tucking in perfectly as you tighten it so that the glass isn't like shifting to one side or the other because there is some play in there. That glass obviously can't be the perfect size of this bezel because it has to fit when you're screwing it in. So you end up with this O-ring showing. It's not always perfectly even. Usually I can get it there with enough finagling, and that's the thing. That's the key, right? It's just a little bit of finagling that goes on. The Boss flashlight from Overready, the way they seem to do it is they have an O-ring that glows. So they have this glow ring, I guess you would call it. They have that glow ring, and then the glass, and then a black O-ring above that, which is also an interesting way to do it. But it still includes the glass pushing up against an O-ring to the bezel. Boss also, or Overready also does an interesting thing where, I don't know if I want to, I'll just show you. So they have this part right here. So this is aluminum, this is steel actually. So this unscrews, and this is how you get to your optic and your drivers in here as well. So if you want to just put a tritium optic in, it's so much easier than all these other ones. Because all these other ones, you have to pull the whole driver out of the head. This, you just open this up, flip it over, drop that optic out, drop your tritium one in, screw this back on. Now, there is a downside. Sometimes I've heard that sometimes they're so tight, you need a tool that they sell. You need a tool to actually get this top part off, because they want to make sure it doesn't just loosen on you while you're trying to change the battery or something. But you can see there's the O-ring, then the glass, then the second O-ring, and that's how they do that. Now, I'm not sure. I guess, yeah, that glow ring is just holding the glass in there right now. So I would have to remove, I would just have to probably push hard enough or pull that glow ring out, and then, but I don't need to change the glass. But they do sell different glass if you wanted mineral glass instead of sapphire or whatever. So then you just tighten this as tight as you can go, and they sell a tool, it's like a band it's like a band wrench. It's interesting. But I guess it's not always necessary. So some people need it, some people don't. I apparently can just unscrew mine. And I haven't had an issue where I'm unscrewing the battery, the head to swap the battery, and that unscrews. That's never happened to me. But I do try to make it really tight whenever I mess with it. So that's how Boss does it. But for the most part, you're always just going to see a black O-ring around the glass. It's not the end of the world. It's not like a make or break thing for me. But like this one was annoying. I just did it recently. Still don't know if I got it perfectly. It's almost like it's sticking out a little bit here, and then on this side it's tucked in further, and that's annoying to have to sit there and fiddle with. So the way Hanko does it, right, it's the same as with CWF. There's no O-ring there. There is an O-ring, don't get me wrong. You just can't see it. And the glass like sits almost in a pocket with the O-ring or something. Like the O-ring pops into they cut an area for the O-ring out around the bezel. So you push the O-ring into that, and then the glass sucks up against that and sits in there with the O-ring. And so when you take the engine out of here, or here, at least in my experience, the glass won't fall out. You can even kind of like clean it while you're dealing with it. It's just really nice to have it done that way, in my opinion. The threads. So on the Hanko, you have these tri-start threads that are incredible. The more I use them, the more I love them. Sometimes it's a little harder to get started back on, but look at that. It's just like, boom, it's off, right? Same amount of threads, same amount of safety, I guess you should talk about with the threads, but just so much quicker. On the Arcadian, there's a lot of threads. I mean, you're doing 4 or 5 rotations. I think it's fine. I don't mind it. It's smooth for titanium. It's super smooth. Charles does a great job, in my opinion. It tightens up really well. I don't mind the seam. I don't know. you know, I'm kind of indifferent on the seam. The peanuts seem to, I don't know if they get a little tighter, or maybe that O-ring is just a little smaller, but it feels a little different. Especially this stonewash one just feels tighter. So it might just be that one example. This, I can easily just break, and maybe I just have more mass to work with. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much a rundown of like the design, all the good stuff. I love it. This is one of my favorite flashlights. I've been after one of these for, you know, since I got into customs and started going down the rabbit hole. Once I discovered it existed, I was like, oh shit, I need that. The peanut is awesome. This is one of my favorite flashlights. I love this size and functionality and everything. But I do prefer this being a little longer. Just the grip. I like this area a little better. I get a little better spread out a little more for my thumb. Where with this, I'm right there and I have to kind of like get my thumb right in there. I know that's weird. And here I just have a little more space to drop my thumb and rest it. I do like amber secondaries. I like red, green, blue too. I kind of just have been experimenting with all of them. It's bright as shit. Again, the optics in here are fantastic, or the LEDs are fantastic. You'll see in the footage. I don't know what else I really have to say. I'm really happy I was able to find it. If anybody has a machined titanium one or something else cool, please let me know. I would love to pick it up off you. I love CWF flashlights, and I want to, you know, kind of get more and whatever. So, yeah, tumbled titanium, a machine tie would be really cool as well. Any tie 2 clips are welcome. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say about the Arcadian. I love it. I think it's great. I think the retail price was somewhere around $450 or $500 on this when it came out in titanium. But I'm not positive. And I got this for $550, I think. I think I paid $500 or $550. I'm not positive. But it was a nice gentleman named Hector, thank you, who sold this to me. And he actually had it refinished by Charles. This, I believe, was a machine tie version, which is funny because that's what I want. And it got so beat up that he sent it in to get refinished, and he had it stonewashed. And that's how it came out this way, which, again, I really like. I don't have any issue with the stonewash. I just also want a machined titanium. So that is the CWF Arcadian, one that I hunted for a good while, which means, you know, like a couple weeks before I found it. And I love it. I have used it tail standing, and it works great for that. I just put it on this sort of second, I think it's 15% setting. And it works phenomenally. I actually left it on tonight because I put my daughter to bed, and you know she's 3, and I'll be trying to get her to sleep, and then she's like, I gotta go potty or whatever. So I take her to the bathroom and I just tail stand this on the shelf above the toilet, so we're not, you know, messing with our eyes too much because we're in the dark before. And she went to the bathroom, and I left it in there. I didn't even realize. And I came back, or actually I came out of her room. She finally fell asleep. It was probably an hour later. I found it on. I was like, oh shit. I went and grabbed my light. It was still on. And I threw the battery in the charger. It's charging right now. And it had one out of 4 bars left. That's how my charger works. So it was somewhere between 25 and I guess 50%, right? It would be somewhere between 25 and 50. So it still had some juice left in the battery after an hour on, I believe, is this 5% or 15? So I have this on mode group 4. So you get secondary, this is moonlight for me. And then I think you get 15, 35. Oh no, okay. So what you get is 5, 15, 35, 100. Yeah, so that was 5%. So I had it on 5% power for an hour. So I don't know if that means anything to you guys, but I still had some runtime left. So that's good to know for me, honestly, that I could probably sit there for a couple hours maybe on 5% and, do whatever. So, yeah, I love you guys. Check out the night shot footage, or whatever you want to call it, beam shot footage. Shout out to Charles. He's a legend. Absolutely great dude to talk to, and I always appreciate him entertaining all my bullshit. And yeah, I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you guys later. Kev here, and I have my CWF Arcadian, full-size Arcadian Dragon driver. We have Samsung 351D emitters in here, as far as I know. That's what I was told by Charles Wiggins, and then I think they're 5,000K. But we're gonna take a quick look. I am freezing out here. Very, very cold. It's like 15 degrees. So this is amber / moonlight. If you guys didn't know, the secondaries are meant to be a moonlight. Low secondary is a moonlight. So this is 5%. And I gotta say, this thing is a hot rod. We have a narrow optic in here. Sorry. And interestingly, it looks a little bit of a warmer light on camera. Usually I feel like it looks cooler on camera, but in this case it looks warmer. So yeah, we're not quite hitting that playground over there. This is, what I use to read to my kid at night in her room. We turn the light off, I turn the flashlight on, and we read. This is what I would use if I was just walking around out the front of the house. You don't need to see very far, you just need a little bit of light. 15% here, and we're starting to light up that playground a little bit. Then we'll head up to 35. Now we're fully enveloping the playground there. And 100%. And this is just absolute mayhem. I mean, it's like daylight out here in front of me. Really, really nice. Absolutely love the Dragon driver. So again, we'll kind of turn a little bit. We're not going to get much distance here. That soccer net is probably, 100 feet away or something. It's kind of getting there. It's blasting off of it, and 3, 4, 5, here's high or turbo. I can see everything out there, just not like daylight. So that is the Arcadian. I love it. This is one of my favorite lights instantly. Got the orange glow gasket in there, and yeah, I don't know, let me know what you guys think. I love you. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I will catch you later.